All right, guys, so we're going to do a case study on how my company made a little over $72,000 from June 26th to September 15th through wholesaling real estate. So my name is Maher. As you can see here, this is our LLC, Maher Capital LLC, Maher Capital LLC. And these two documents, they're screenshots actually, these are HUDs. So anytime somebody buys or sells a property, when you do a real estate transaction, it comes with the HUD. So this is when we bought the property. As you can see, my name is right here. And then when we sold the property. So take a look at this price. So we purchased the property for $232,000 on June 26th, and we sold it on September 15th for $348,000 minus $7,500 in closing credit to the buyer. So after fees and everything, we made a little over $72,000 in a short period of time. And it wasn't very difficult at all. I'm going to go over the process on how we can do this, but I just wanted to show you guys proof just so you guys know who's telling you this and that we actually do this every single day in our business. And I started, this was actually in 2023. I started in 2022, and just a year in the business, we're making, doing $70,000 deals. And before I get started kind of on how we're doing this, I kind of want to get into, why does this work? In my opinion, I think real estate is probably one of the best industries to get into because it's such a high ticket item. For example, the average house here in Vegas is around $400,000 to $450,000. So there's no other item or product that you could be selling that's going to be in such a high price point, unless if it's some super expensive cars or jewelry. But the average house here in Vegas is $400,000. So when we're doing deals, we have the ability to capture a lot of that equity, in exchange for time and speed and convenience. So the reason why sellers do deals with us is, they take a hit on their equity to give us speed and convenience. So that's one of the reasons why I love real estate and how I think it has the ability to make a lot of money very quick. Another reason is that you need very little to upfront or even zero capital. For fixing and flipping, everybody thinks you need a lot of money to do it. You do need some money, but you don't need to use your own money. You're able to use other people's money to get the deal done. But for wholesaling, you can actually get started with very, very little money. When I got started, all I had was a phone, a laptop, and a dialer. So you don't really need that much money. There are ways to start where you can start with very little money. And then also, another reason why this works is because we're targeting people that are likely to sell. For example, when I teach you guys in this video how to get lists of properties that we're going to target, a lot of them are going to be pre-foreclosure, probate, absentee owned, basically people that are going to be more likely to sell than regular homeowners. All right, so let's jump right into this. So how is this going to work? So we're first going to want to find a buyer in our area. And the way we're going to find buyers in our area, my favorite way is through Facebook. So what you're going to want to do is go on Facebook, go find real estate investing pages in your city. Type in real estate investing Las Vegas or real estate investing wherever your city is. And then you're going to just look at the comments or even make a post and say, hey, I got a deal coming up in this area. Is anybody buying? And your comments and DMs are going to get flooded with investors saying, hey, send me details of the deal. We're looking to buy in this area, XYZ. And you're just going to tell them, hey, sorry, we already sold that property, but what other properties are you looking for? And the reason you're going to ask this is to get their buying criteria so you know what kind of properties to pull and who you're going to target. And you're going to notice really quick that a lot of the investors are going to be targeting similar properties. For example, here in Vegas, we like to target properties that are, 3-bedroom, 2-bath minimum, built after 1990. And I personally don't like to buy properties in the hood. So it's basically the west side of, close to downtown is the only part of Vegas that we don't really buy in. And I tell all the wholesalers that these are the kind of properties that we buy. So once you find the buyers, then you're going to also ask them, after you ask them what kind of properties they want to buy, you're going to ask them how much they're willing to pay for these kinds of properties. This is probably the most important question that you can ask. So what you're going to first want to do after you find out what the criteria is, you're going to put that criteria into PropStream and say, hey, basically get a list of all the properties that the investors want to buy. 3-2s built after 1990 in this zip code. Then you're going to get a list of those properties and you're going to skip trace them. Basically find the owner's phone number and information so we can call and text them and ask them if they want to sell. And I want to give you guys a heads up. 99% of the homeowners are going to tell you guys to screw off. We're not looking to sell. Why would we ever sell to you guys? Why can't we just list it with the realtor? And that's totally okay. just if 1% even want to take offers on the property or would even consider offers, that's still a great number, and you have a lot of money to be made in this industry. But don't think you're gonna make one phone call and they're gonna take your offer and you're gonna sell it and make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. That's definitely not gonna happen. You're gonna probably have to talk to 100 homeowners before one even says yes, they'll consider your offer. And then probably out of the 60 offers that you give, one you'll get a contract from. So that's just a numbers game. So you're probably gonna have to dial like 6,000 dials before you get one contract. That's just an industry average. And obviously the longer you do this for, the better you're gonna get. So I probably am at like 3,000 dials to get one contract. And I could do that fairly quick. If I'm on the phones, I can get, a contract a week. So once you get the homeowner to say, yes, we'll consider an offer on the property, you're going to give them a verbal offer. And you're going to know what to offer them because how we spoke to the investors in the beginning and we found buyers. So we're going to know that buyers for these kinds of properties that we're calling and texting are going to pay, for example, $300,000. So we're going to go ahead and give the homeowner an offer, a verbal offer for $250,000. And once they accept, then we're going to get that offer in writing. And it's a very simple 3-page contract. That we can even share with you. Just reach out to me in the comments and ask me for that contract. I'll send you the contract. It's 3 pages, super simple, and that's going to be the first contract is between you and the homeowner. We'll call that contract A. Then there's contract B. It's called an assignment contract. I can send you that also. That's going to be between you and the buyer. So between you and the buyer, it's going to be $300,000, and then between you and the seller, it's going to be $250,000. So you're going to take contract A and B and send it to the title company to open escrow. And then let's say you agreed with the homeowner and the buyer that you guys are going to do closing in 30 days. On the 30th day, the buyer is going to wire the title company $300,000 for the house, and then the title company is going to give the seller $250,000 and then give you your check for $50,000. And this is a super basic process. With wholesaling real estate, it's not complicated at all. It's a very simple concept, but it is difficult. It's not very easy, but there's definitely a lot of potential and a lot of money to be made. And I want to go through some limiting beliefs that a lot of people have. For example, a lot of people say you need a ton of upfront capital. We kind of already went over this. You can really get started with a laptop, a phone, and a dialer. A dialer is around $100 a month. And then PropStream, the data source, is another $100 a month. So you can really get started. I want to say under $300 because you're going to need a little bit of money to get those phone numbers. And then another question that people ask me a ton is, what if you don't find a buyer for that property? It's kind of, my process kind of kills this objection right away because we're going to find the buyers before we even start marketing to properties. But always in your contract, there's going to be an inspection period. It's called due diligence period. And that basically gives you, you can write as many days as you want in that contract. The average I would say we do is around 14 days. That gives us 14 days to find a buyer. If we don't find a buyer, we just simply tell the homeowner, hey, we need to cancel this agreement. We don't want to purchase the property anymore. And then you're not financially obligated or to do anything else with the seller. You can walk away from that contract with no harm. If this is something that you guys want to learn and want me to teach you, click the link down below in the description, book a call with me or my team, and we'll come up with a custom plan that we think that will really skyrocket your success in real estate. For example, if you have no money or very low capital, we can come up with a custom plan that'll get you your first deal within 90 days, and that's going to be through wholesaling if you don't have that much money. But if you come to us and say, hey, you got $50,000 ready to invest and buy your first flip, then we're going to come up with a custom plan for you to buy that first property to flip. And obviously, if you do have more money, you're going to be able to make bigger profits. For example, the average wholesale fee here in Las Vegas is around $20,000, but the average flip is around $40,000 to $50,000. So, you can still succeed if you have no money, but if you do have a little bit more money, you're going to be able to, skyrocket that success and obviously get it faster.